Christian fathers can support your channel in more ways. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Just working on some Dull Strong. Nice. I really like them. All right. This stone right here is a 3000. I'm gonna finish it off. I always work on the knives and do all the grinding first. Work it down to the fine grit, put it aside, and then once I'm all done with the knives, then I go ahead and do all the stropping afterwards. A little bit more. Okay. Make sure there's no grit from the previous stone on there. Alright. Nice and softly. Clean. Want to make sure that stone is always clean, because all that debris on there is just going to affect the grind and the final finish of the grind. Alright, it's pretty good, nice and clean. Give it a spray off. Clean paper towel. Clean paper towel is always important in the final results, so this way there's no grit or anything like that stuck to it, so it'll scratch up your cladding. Okay. This one's gonna put aside. Next one. Let's see what's going on here. That's very cool. Sam, do you get commissioned? Sam B. No, I don't get any commission yet. I'm not capitalizing on YouTube lives right now. Still need to work on my subscribers. If you're new to this channel, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to, watch me in the future, because I'll definitely be doing more of these videos. I just recently got myself a nice tripod that connects onto my bench, so this way I can be able to do these live channels. And I got inspired by a man named Mike White from Sharp and Right Service, and he does it daily. And it kind of turned me on to doing this. Now, granted, I'm not making anything out of this besides, a little bit of content, and that content is actually gold because it actually works with the algorithm. And with Google searches and anything like that, or even ChatGPT, the more content you put out there or whatever, it picks up on that information and it recommends you more often. All right, so going back down to the 1000, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a scrape. Make sure it's nice and clean. Clean it off. Alright, so I like to check underneath the light. Sometimes I use a UV light and look down on the apex to see where the burrs are in this. And there's a couple of spots. So it doesn't really need too much grinding, just needs a refinement. So that's why I have the 1000. If I needed to, reset the edge or whatever, I would go with a lower grit, maybe like a 320 or a 400 grit or something like that. Most of the time it's 320. I don't like to count my strokes, so what I do to make sure that I'm using every part of the stone, so I don't get the cupping action happen within the stone, is that I like to run laps around the stone. Run laps around the stone, and this way you can keep the stone semi-level over time. Now granted, it's not 100% effective. There will be times where I have to take the time, or at least a couple hours, of flattening my stones down again. I like to keep it clean as much as possible. Any of that settlement that sits on top of the stone can take the chance of riding up the cladding and then scratching up the cladding along the way. Checking for a burr. Yep, I have it. Alright, so now that I have the burr, I want to make sure that I level it out by making nice, clean strokes a couple of times. Clean. Alright, once I got it to that point, give it a little clean, make sure all the grit's off. Then I switch to the other side. And what I like to do, I like to keep it in one hand. Some people like to switch it up and do it that way or whatever, but I've gotten so comfortable by just keeping it in one hand. And what I do is I work it from the tail end when I flip it to this side. And I'll start on this side, and I work it down. And as I'm moving down, I'm moving right to the very tip. And I'll come back up again, clean it, work it all the way down to the tip. Sometimes I'll come in on the other side, but you'll see when I do that. Okay. A little weak in front. We'll go back there one more time. There it is. Nice and even all the way down. And now I make the even strokes. Bring it all into alignment. Clean. Okay. Now I move back to 3000. Give it a little hone. Nice and clean. Let me see what's going on here. Anybody else? Very nice, my guy. Very nice. Sam. Alright. So again, with the 3000, I go very lightly. I'm not doing any kind of grinding. All I'm doing is just polishing up the edge, taking out some burrs. It's not going to take all the burrs out. I'll do that in the last final finish with the stropping. But this is meant to clean it up and get the roughness out of the edge. that's it. Clean it off. Brand new paper towel. Very important. You want to put out good work. You make sure you keep your stuff clean as possible. Okay. All right, next one. We got this guy right here. Named Santuco. On TikTok, I'm not doing well, I do have a TikTok account. I should be doing it, but we'll see. I'll build up to it. All right, again, check underneath the light. See where all my burrs are. A couple areas in the back end, a couple areas in the nose. So, very light grinding. I'm gonna flip my stone around, give it a quick grind again. A little bit more in the tail end. Like I said, I like to use all of the stone. You know, a lot of beginners' mistake is that they always focus on the center. And when you focus too much on the center of the stone, what will end up happening is that you get the cupping going on. And you get this swoop in your stone, and it won't be level. And it makes it a lot harder for you when you're working with certain types of blades and stuff, and they need to be symmetrically level, like single beveled edges. Alright, there we are. Clean it, level it out, even it out. Alright, to the other side. Clean it off real quick. Make sure no heavy grits on there. And you start. Let's see what kind of comments are going on here. Baby, how are you doing? TikTok. Alright, got that burr nice up there. I'm gonna go ahead and level it out. to the 3000. Give it a quick pound. Okay. Oh yeah. Birds is pulling away. Okay. Okay. All right. Clean it up one more time. Brand new paper towel. All right, next one. I got this utility knife. Not bad. Again, I check, look down at the apex of the edge, see where all my burrs are. This one has been used more often, you can tell. There's more glimmer coming off that apex. So, not too bad. Nothing that I would have to drop down into like a 320 to reset the edge or anything like that. So I'll just stay with the 1000. Go ahead and rotate my stone around. More. A little bit more in the tail. There it is. All right, let's even it out. And switch to the other side. Okay, even it out. All right. Back to 3000. Let's use this. Okay. All right, next one. Little pear knife. Like I said, it's a nice set. I really like these. Again, look down at this. Oh yeah, you can tell this one was used quite often. Not too bad. 1000 grit, do just fine. Who's got in here right now? Let's see what the comments are. Okay. Okay. All right, back to the 3000. The pair knife on the 3000. I'm not gonna do many swipes. Maybe keep it singular on each side. I want it to have a little bit of toothiness to it. The reason for it is because paring knives don't really have weight to them, so they're very light. So it's actually beneficial if they have a little bit of toothiness to them. Whereas the other ones, they're bigger, they got more weight action. You know, the toothiness, it's long depending on the steel or whatever. The weight of the action or whatever helps with along with the edge and like gliding right through. Whereas something like this is something that's handwork, so that toothiness definitely works. Okay. One more time. All right. Clean it off. All right, now it's time for stropping. Let's see. Do I want to hand paddle these strops? Probably not. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use my Tormek. Take the bar out. I'll flip it around. My leather strop. I'm going to use a blue compound, which is by far the best. It's light. Before I do that, I've been using this strop quite a bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove all the old compound that's on it right now. I wonder if you guys can see it right there. A little noisy. All I'm using is a little screwdriver. I put it right up to the wheel and pull off all that old compound on there. Clean it up. Okay. Now reload. Nice and clean, everything's good to go. And go on very lightly. One more time. At this point, I take a nice clean microfiber cloth. I love using this because it tells me if there's still any burrs in the edge or whatever by catching the little fabrics on here. Fiber, I should say. And it helps pull off any kind of like, you know, fingerprint oil or anything like that. And it's nice and clean. Let's give it a paper test. I'm gonna get a piece of paper. Not bad. All right, so that one's done. Do the next one. One more time. Okay. Clean off any compound. Clean. Nice. Paper test. Nice. Tip. Okay. Yep. Tip. Nice. Let me get a new piece of paper. I don't like it when it's all bent and stuff because it throws off the alignment. That's it. Nice. Santuco. Nice. Back to the paper. Good on the heel and good on the tip. All right, the utility knife. Okay. Paper test. And last but not least, I'm gonna go very light on this one. So one stroke up, another stroke up, one more time. One stroke up, and another stroke up. Done. Yep. And I can hear the toothiness from the microfiber towel, you know. And that's the way I want it. Good. All right, guys, I'm gonna jump off here. Thank you for tuning in. And if you can, hit that like button and subscribe. And I will be back soon with some more content. Bye.